How to change your duct line placement options in PractiCAD. PractiCAD has a variety of options that make it easy to draw while you're on continue. Some of these options are called trace duct line placement and set by selection duct line placement. These options are controlled in your library icon. We're going to go into library now. On the left-hand side, we're going to click on the word Ductwork, and that is going to open up our Ductwork options. Notice here we have duct line placement, and we have two parts. The first part of these tutorials is going to be on the trace duct line placement, and the second part of the tutorial will be on the set by selection duct line placement. What I'm going to do is uncheck the set by selection, and we're going to focus on the trace parameters. If these are checked, what PractiCAD is going to do is when I attach a piece of duct to an existing duct line, it's going to make the duct I am holding match the specification, the zone, the floor, and the system number properties. So here I'm going to hit the save key, and we're going to exit out of the library. Notice currently we're going to grab a piece of duct and we're going to snap to this duct line. If we look at the properties of this duct line by double clicking on the duct, you can see that the zone is supply, the floor is 1, and the system number is AHU-1. You will also notice that if I click on this ductwork, that it's showing me the same properties in the property box because it's picked up the properties from the duct it was attached to. However, if I go and grab another piece of duct and I decide to snap to this fitting, and then we look at these properties, and you can see by the layer changing color that it's obviously picked up the zone and spec. You can see that that duct has picked up floor 2, zone return, AHU2, completely different floor, zone, and system number properties. And it's picked it up from the fitting we attached it to here. So this is a very important option, and it's probably best to leave it on at all times. Once you've placed one fitting on the drawing with the proper specification, you can then move between fittings and you don't have to worry about changing the spec as you go. For example, I'm grabbing a piece of duct. I'm going to click up top. You can see that it adds the tie rod, changes the color, the zone. You can even see the workbox updating the information. And then I'm going to click here and do the same thing down at this run without letting go of the duct, and you can see it's picking up all the proper information. That is how we use trace specification, zone, floor, and system number. In part 2 of this tutorial, we're going to explain how to use the set by selection parameters. We're going to go into our duct line placement options by clicking on the library icon in our PractiCAD ribbon bar. Now we're going to go over to the word ductwork and click on the word ductwork so we get our ductwork options. And underneath duct line placement, we have set by selection. What this does when these are checked is PractiCAD will update the workbox and update the spec, zone, floor, and system number by matching the properties of whatever duct we click on. To demonstrate this, we're going to uncheck the trace parameters and check the set by selection parameters. And we're going to hit save. Now we're going to exit out of the drawing. Here we're going to change or update what spec, zone, floor, and system number we're working in by clicking on a piece of duct. Notice right now that it's set for return to AHU2. Those are the properties of the duct line on the bottom. If I click on the duct line up top, you can see that PractiCAD now updates the workbox to supply 1 AHU-1. What this means when we have set by selection on, especially if it's on by itself, is PractiCAD will follow whatever's in this workbox. In other words, if I go to grab a fitting currently and I have set the workbox parameters by selection, and we use this fitting here, if I attach to the fitting down below, you will notice that this duct has not picked up the properties of the duct before it. That's because we unchecked the trace selection parameters. And now we're working on only following whatever we set by selection. In other words, if we want to use this option and we want this duct to match this one, what we would have wanted to do first is clicked on the duct. It will have updated all the workbox properties for us, and then we would have attached it down on the bottom. If we would like to attach duct to the top and make sure it matches properties, we'd first click to make sure it updates the workbox, and then we would attach duct to it, and PractiCAD would follow all the proper settings for that duct line. It's following the settings in the workbox. So that is how we use set by selection. Let's go back into the ductwork options by clicking on the library icon in the PractiCAD ribbon. The recommended settings for PractiCAD users is actually to keep all of these checked at all times. You can use the method you prefer, but is recommended to keep all of these checked at all times. However, having trace, spec, zone, floor, and system number checked all the time can cause problems when you're trying to connect duct and switch specifications in the middle of the duct line. So there are exercises to go through, and I recommend you follow them, that shows you how to switch specifications in the middle of a duct line. We're now going to save our preferred duct line placement options and exit out of the library, and that will conclude the tutorial on duct line placement options.